Off. Prime and Ready is quick out of the gate. Yellow sundress, Special Flower on the extreme outside, and Corporal Violet in the yellow colors in the mix too. Headed for home, moves into contention with Thirsty Destiny, 5 off the lead, 5 clear of Princess Midnight, and Miss McWhinnie at the back of the field. Prime and Ready, Corporal Violet, Special Flower just outside of that pair, vying for the lead. Then Yellow Sundress, red colors behind horses. Fourth as Prime and Ready is losing a touch of ground. Then on the outside comes Thirsty Destiny, headed for Ohm in the green just in front of her currently. Another 2 back to Princess Midnight and Miss McWhinnie. Around the far turn, it's Special Flower and Corporal Violet. These two head and head at the top of the stretch. Prime and Ready trying to come back for more on the inside of Yellow Sundress. They're at the top of the stretch, headed for Ohm, is diving down toward the rail and closing in the late stages. It's still open. Special Flower, Yellow Sundress on the outside. Prime and Ready in between them. Down at the rail, headed for Ohm, continues to make headway. On the outside, Yellow Sundress is surging to victory in a blanket photo finish. Battling it out behind, included, headed for Ohm, Special Flower, and Prime and Ready. And also a late bid was coming from Princess Midnight. And they're off. Cooey and Cash Call both out very smartly. Caston's Rose, Eastwick is one from the rail into the hall at the back of the field. So it's the gray Cooey to set the pace. Caston's Rose is now third as Cash Call clearly moves into the second spot. Into the hall, inches up on the outside of Eastwick. Less than 4 lengths covers them. It's Rispoli and Cooey past the half-mile pole. In hand, in command. A length and a half to Cash Call, who is the very heavy favorite in second. Another length back to Into the Hall, taking third. Caston's Rose is down at the rail, right next to Eastwick, midway on the far turn. Cooey, the lead, shrinking. Cash Call moves to engage and moves on by at the top of the stretch. Cash Call, the new leader, into the hall on the outside, and Cooey trying to fight on and doing just that with a furlong left to go. Cash Call and Cooey. Cash Call is just in front. Cooey trying hard. 2 more into the hall, third. A 16th to go. Hernandez asking Cash Call to finish the job. Cooey is game. This Cash Call is 40% to the winners. Cash Call 3/4 of a length. Cooey second best. Into the hall, finished third, a long way back to Eastwick. To the first turn. And the lead does belong to Preem. It's Preem in front by a length and a half. Resolve is in the second spot, and on the inside comes Atia racing a close-up third. The Lime Colors of Empress Matilda is next, followed by Firenze Flavor, who's down on the inside, 4 lengths off the lead, and Sunset Grazin at the back. They're heading to the half-mile pole, and it's Preem in front, 3/4 of a length to Resolve in second. Empress Matilda just outside of that pair. Atia is on the rail, a close-up fourth still, 2.5 or so off the lead. Then comes Firenze Flavor and Sunset Grazin at the back. Preem takes him into the far turn. Resolve pressing the issue. Empress Matilda on the outside still. Atia saved every bit of ground. Firenze Flavor 4 off the lead. And Sunset Grayson, a quarter of a mile to go. And Preem is now shaken up. Empress Matilda on the outside, trying to challenge in second. Atia is next. Center of the course, Firenze Flavor starting to pick it up. Resolve is in between horses, in with a shot too. Here's Firenze Flavor on the outside, sweeping on by. Sunset Grayson now moves into second late. It's Firenze Flavor, Sunset Grayson, Firenze Flavor got the jump and the W over Sunset Grayson. Three-way photo for third among Empress Matilda, Resolve, and Atia. Here's Sunset Storm. And they're off. Sir Lucas and Sunset Storm are the first two out of the gate. Just behind them, Acero and Precedent Luke. Devil in the Bluegrass is down on the inside, racing in fifth. They're followed by Liberty Wolf. Dazzle the Command is mid-pack, 7 lengths off the lead. Passed just now by Fast Service, who's widest of all. The two trailers are Updraft, and Bruiser is at the back of a strung-out field. Onto the back stretch, and it's Sunset Storm taking the lead from Sir Lucas. 3 lengths back, Devil in the Bluegrass moves through to take third. He is followed by Acero with Precedent Luke outside of that pair, a gap of 5. Back to Fast Service, who's 2 clear of Dazzle the Command, being worked upon, asks for a bit more. Liberty Wolf is next, Updraft and a gap of 5 to Bruiser. Still a lot of ground separating them. The best trip has gone to Devil in the Bluegrass, who looms up 3 wide now. And Devil in the Bluegrass coming after Sunset Storm. These two kick on. Sir Lucas back to third. They're followed by Acero, who's a distant fourth. He's now being joined by Fast Service. Precedent Luke drops out of it. A quarter of a mile to go. Devil in the Bluegrass and Sunset Storm. Sunset Storm, Devil in the Bluegrass. These two arrive at the top of the stretch together. 5 lengths back to Fast Service, who's grinding away in third. A final furlong for Devil in the Bluegrass and Kyle Frey getting the upper hand now on Sunset Storm. And it's Devil in the Bluegrass passing the 16th pole. He's a big boy, and he's going to get his picture taken shortly. Devil in the Bluegrass by 2. Sunset Storm second. Fast Service third in front of Dazzle the Command. This is more. And they're off. We the Hobby is sprinting out for the early lead. Kiku Ride is up close in the early going, as is Big Hottie, and Less is More in fourth. Then it's Hello Kiddo Kiddo on the inside of Ionian Gem. Joyful Mischief second to last, and Club Teaser, who stutter stepped out of the gate, is the trailer. Round the first turn, and We the Hobby will be untroubled on the front end, has a 2-length lead, with the favorite Kiku Ride kept close in second. Big Hottie is down on the rail in third. Then Less is More fourth. Hello Kiddo Kiddo is 6 lengths off the lead. Ionian Gem follows her. Another 3 back to Joyful Mischief and Club Teaser. Freysu and We the Hobby lead the way to the half-mile pole. 2-length advantage still on Kiku Ride second. At the rail, Big Hottie remains third. Then Less is More, 3.5 or 4 off the lead. Hello Kiddo Kiddo, Ionian Gem, Joyful Mischief, and Club Teaser. We the Hobby, Kiku Ride asked to get after her now. These two starting to dominate. It's We the Hobby on the inside. Kiku Ride within a next second. Less is More third. Hello Kiddo Kiddo inches up outside of Big Hottie. They're at the top of the stretch, and Kiku Ride is up to take the lead. At the rail, We the Hobby not done. She's fighting on bravely. 3 back to Hello Kiddo Kiddo, who poses the late threat to Kiku Ride. Kiku Ride, Hello Kiddo Kiddo on the outside. Kiku Ride full of run though. And Kiku Ride and Juan Hernandez hand-ridden to score. Hello Kiddo Kiddo second, We the Hobby third, then Big Hottie. They're in the gate. And they're off. Diego Herrera gets all over Lady Montclair, who responds by sprinting to the front. Raising Silver is up close in the early going. And here's Smile Baby Smile. No lack of pace whatsoever as Smile Baby Smile and Lady Montclair hook up around the first turn. Raising Silver third. DeSormo has Sweet Hello well spotted at the rail in fourth. Then comes Love Our Family and Stop Digging racing right together. Two clear of Ultimate Eye. Big Celebration is next. And another two to Girl Can't Help It. Onto the backstretch. Lady Montclair leads the way. Opens up a length now. Raising Silver second. Smile Baby Smile back to third. Sweet Hello is fourth. 2.5 lengths off the pace while 3 wide. Stop Digging. Love Our Family. Big Celebration. 6 off the lead outside of them. Ultimate High is the gray behind this group. Girl Can't Help It continues at the back. Lady Montclair 3 furlongs out shows the way. With Sweet Hello a joint second. Raising Silver busily worked upon between rivals. At the rail, Smile Baby Smile is next. Here's Big Celebration. And Big Celebration makes a bold move all the way up to take second. Behind them, Stop Digging, looking for racing room. She's currently behind Raising Silver as the field turns for home. Lady Montclair 2-length lead. Big Celebration chasing with determination. Stop Digging wide in the center of the racetrack, also coming with good energy. A 16th to go, and Big Celebration has collared Lady Montclair. Opens up 2. Stop Digging trying hard. Time running out. Big Celebration holds on. A well-timed move from Adrian Escobedo, fending off Stop Digging, Lady Montclair, and Raising Silver. They're in the gate. And they're off. Miss Brightside is out alertly, happy as a clam at the rail. No time for Squalls and Princess Snow. Those 4 vie for command. No time for Squalls now backs off that trio. Between rivals, Oratium is now going up to battle for the lead as Miss Brightside is back to 5th. Then it's Upcharge mid-pack, 8 lengths off the leaders. At the rail, Impractical Diva, followed by Irish Rose, who's a dozen off the pace, and a length clear of Wordplay. Oratium takes him on to the backstretch, leading the way. Opens up 2.5 lengths now on Happy as a Clam in second. It's another 2 to Princess Snow and Mike Smith third, followed by No Time for Squalls, 5 off the pace in fourth. Then Miss Brightside racing just in front of a rallying Upcharge, who's 3 deep and 7 lengths off the lead past the half-mile pole. Impractical Diva is next. Irish Rose is trying to move up in traffic. In fact, she just went by Upcharge, who's suddenly losing ground while second to last, and Wordplay trails. Oratium, the leader, Princess Snow putting the pressure on. These two will arrive at the quarter pole together, and Princess Snow has run right on by. Princess Snow, the new leader to Oratium, who's backing right out of the race. They're followed by No Time for Squalls, who moves into second. On the extreme outside, Wordplay is trying to get involved late inside of her. Miss Brightside, final furlong, and it's Princess Snow with a 4-length lead. Miss Brightside, Wordplay are both closing a little bit of ground, but Princess Snow, Mike Smith's just sitting chilly as Princess Snow pulls off the upset in style. Wordplay finished well, but was simply second best. Miss Brightside third. No Time for Squalls ran fourth. Goes in. And they're off. Wish they all could be hopped slightly awkwardly. Mirinda flashing her customary zip and opens up 2 in the first few jumps. Yuki comes through on the inside, and Barbara T, well spotted, taking second. They're followed by Hot Girl Walk, who's in between horses. Wish they all could be trying to get into contention after that slight miscue at the break. Another 2 back to Our Moonlight, who's guided off the rails, 7 lengths off the lead. 2 clear of Hot Girl Walk, who has lost some ground. In the air, there tonight. Noki is second to last, and Shared Future at the back. 3 furlongs out, and it's Maldonado and Mirinda clear by 2, chased intently by Barbara T second. Wish They All Could Be 3 off the pace in third. Our Moonlight is fourth, starting to rev up, 6 lengths off the new leader. That leader is Barbara T as the favorite takes over at the top of the stretch. It's Barbara T in front. Mirinda down at the rail, back to second. Wish They All Could Be, and Our Moonlight in the center of the racetrack inside the 8th pole, and it's Barbara T, 3-length lead. Our Moonlight picks it up nicely into second. Barbara T, Our Moonlight, Barbara T. Perfect trip to victory. Our Moonlight shows promise once again while second best. Third went to Wish They All Could Be. Shared Future finished with some energy and took fourth. One more. And they're off. Bougie Like, Wildcat dancing out alertly. In between them, Enjoy is up close. OK Rose will drop back into a tracking spot, passed by Sabella, who's 3 wide into the first turn. Garden Party is toward the back of the field. Winter Snow matches strides with her, and another 3 back to Miss McKinsey. Bougie Like is the leader. A 2-length advantage on Enjoy in second. It's another 2. Say Bella getting a good spot in third, 3 lengths off the lead. Another 2.5 or so to OK Rose. Inside Wildcat Dancing. Winter Snow is next. Garden Party outside of her, and Miss McKinsey is more than 10 lengths off front running Bougie Like. Bougie Like takes him to the half-mile pole. Maldonado peeks back to see he has a 3.5-length cushion on Enjoy in second. Bays biding his time on Say Bella in third. At the rail, Ayuso gives a nudge to OK Rose, who responds down on the inside. She's moving right together with Say Bella as they take second and third, moving around the far turn. Here's Garden Party joining the fray, and Garden Party takes third now. She's right next to OK Rose as the field turns for home. Bougie Like on the inside, and Say Bella are head and head. Here's Garden Party sweeping up outside of that pair. Behind them, OK Rose looking for racing room, and from well out of it, here's Winter Snow. Inside of her, Wildcat Dancing. Garden Party has the lead. 2-length advantage. OK Rose coming through quickly. It will be Garden Party, handwritten by Reese Bully to close out the pick 6. OK Rose, Winter Snow. Behind them, it was Wildcat Dancing, and the battle for 5th was between Miss McKinsey and Sabella. Prices are posted. Keep in mind there was a late scratch at the gate, and the winner wasn't.
If you thought yesterday's Pick Six was tough, and it was, it paid $68,000 to 5 lucky and skilled ticket holders. Take a look at today's Pick Six sequence, I should say. It's even tougher in my opinion, but we've got the perfect seminar guest to get us through a tough and rough card. His name, Gino Buccola. Gino, happy Saturday. Welcome to the seminar.
Oh, ready to rock. Just a week out from the Derby. I was a little nervous this morning waking up with some of the rain coming down, but we're still going to be on the grass, and seems minimal scratches and changes so far. We'll see if anything changes throughout the day, but so far, not too many differences.
Light showers. I think it breezed through Arcadia, California, so we're good to go. As you can see right now on the TV screen, the TBA is for the main track designation. Turf course, as Gino mentioned, is listed as good. All turf races do remain on the turf course. One race goes from 6.5 down the hill to 6.5 furlongs on the flat turf course. You mentioned the Kentucky Derby, just 7 days away from now. And of course, we'll take a look at today's outstanding 11-race card in just 1 minute, Gino. But you've got some thoughts on the Kentucky Derby, I'm sure. First of all, what's your opinion of the West Coast contingency? And that would be a big group, let's face it. Journalism, Baeza if he gets in, Citizen, Bull, Rodriguez. The list is pretty deep as far as the West Coast contingency is concerned.
Legit, probably as strong a group as we've had in a while, right? Of like top tier contenders. You've got the 2-year-old champ from last year. You've got Rodriguez, who's kind of a now horse who went out to the East Coast to get his Derby points. And then the horse who will be the hands down betting favorite for the Kentucky Derby, Journalism. Honestly, the wise guy horse right now is kind of Baeza. There's so many people who were hoping that he was going to get in. I think it looks like he might now with a couple defections coming this morning, even with the horse. I was all ready. If we would have had this yesterday, we would have had me for 15 minutes waxing on about Tapan Street.
Brad Cox's runner.
I had a couple futures on in fantasy leagues. And from a work standpoint, videos recorded, articles written that will now have to be rerouted.
And that's the trials and tribulations of the Derby Trail.
Right.
One day you're sitting on top of the world, and the next day, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to compete.
Amazing how quick it changes. A couple horses that are on my radar now. So I very much respect Journalism. He's not a horse I'm trying to beat in there either. I think he's going to be really, really tough. But you always want to look for a couple value horses throughout the Derby race in particular. One horse that actually was behind Rodriguez at Aqueduct in the Wood Memorial was Grande. Generally, Pletcher and Rapoli come in with like one of the heavy hitters, one of the big favorites. Grande will be flying a little more under the radar. He's a horse who was really, really wide. If you haven't had a chance to watch that Wood Memorial, you want to go back and take a look at that Wood, because as Rodriguez got the lead and was able to cruise and dictate things from the inside, Grande had an opposite trip. He was very wide throughout and just giving up ground all the way around the track. So I think he's one that's interesting. And then another long shot that I'll probably include for a really cool story for a trainer, Ethan West. I think they paid like $2,500 for the horse Chunk of Gold, who's been underneath in both of the races in Louisiana. He's a really cool horse that will absolutely be in like tries and supers for me at a massive price.
And the Derby's a great betting race as well, right? You might have opinions, but that's one thing. Then you've got to strategize and formulate a wagering strategy to kind of cash in on your opinion, and that's tough to do. We see it every year. The trifecta, the super high five, the superfecta, they all pay outstanding, even if some favorites are sprinkled in the mix.
Yeah, and one thing that they're also adding this year too, you can even start betting right now. They've got a Preakness future wager that opens up between now and next week. What's nice about all the options of wagers is it lets you capitalize on your opinion a little bit more, right? You can play pick threes and doubles leading into the Derby. So maybe there are other races that you like on Friday, Oaks Day, or Saturday earlier on in the card, and they have wagers that combine those. So that way you can just kind of really capitalize on your strong opinion. That's the key, right? You're not going to win every single race. We know that, but if you have the right opinion one or two times and you can really hit them hard, that's how you make money in this game.
And speaking of that Preakness future wager that you mentioned, Gino, it opened up yesterday. It runs all the way until 3 o'clock East Coast time on Kentucky Derby Saturday. Of course, they'll close the wager before the running of the Kentucky Derby. That's noon Pacific time. And the morning line favorite at 8-1 was Journalism. So if you like Journalism to win the Kentucky Derby, and who knows what Hill Price will actually close at come 3 o'clock East Coast time next Saturday, it's going to be something way better than you're going to get on Preakness Day.
Yeah, or you take the opposite approach and you say, okay, I want to take a horse that I know is pointing to the Preakness, right? Because if some of these horses, maybe they don't run all that well in the Derby, something happens. Nowadays, they don't really get wheeled back 2 weeks unless they win the Derby. So then you can sit and go, okay, maybe a horse like a River Thames, who we know kind of passed the Derby to point on the Preakness. I know Goster was a horse who won the Lexington. They might be looking there.
Cornucopia from the Baffert Barn.
He's going to be running, I think, this weekend in an allowance race, hoping to kind of use that as a prep. So exactly, maybe you want to look for one of those horses who you feel like if they're 15, 20-1, come Preakness Day, they won't be that price most likely. They'll probably be like a second or third choice behind the Derby winner if that horse were to go in. So a lot of options. That's what we like as bettors. I think they draw the races today. Between the 5th and 6th race tonight at Churchill Downs is when the Derby is drawn, and I think the Oaks right before that. So by the time that late pick 5 starts tonight at Churchill, we'll know what the field looks like for next week. I know you can already purchase your Kentucky Derby packages at drf.com. So if you're sitting back today and playing the Santa Anita races, maybe you want to get ahead in your handicapping. We've already got the Kentucky Derby contender past performances out, and that puts together that package with the PPs, the clocker reports, all the good stuff.
You know, I'm a Hawaiian shirt guy, and I'm jealous of your daily racing form shirt.
Yeah.
You're sporting the company colors there. That's a really, really cool shirt. I need to get my hands on one.
Shop.drf.com. A couple different ones. I don't model them as nice as Chappie in marketing does when he does the modeling for some of the Santa Anita stuff here. But yeah, you can get these shop.drf.com. They're fun to wear around when you're at the track or playing the races on the weekends.
Gino, you and I are kind of West Coast biased, and of course, we've been following the races for a long, long time here in Southern California. And it's really good for me to see as a horse player the full fields now in Southern California. The influx of the Northern California horses, the horses returning off long layoffs for trainers who now have some stability here in Southern California. That's a really, really encouraging sign, because at the end of the day, it makes for better betting.
Yeah, and throughout the early meet, we have the meets that are split up. A couple weeks ago, we had a little bit of a break after the classic meet,
which was a good week break.
And what's great is looking back at how everything went from the classic meet. Field sizes were up, handle was up, attendance was up. So people are coming out to the track. The field sizes are back, being a little bit bigger, and it's just better for everyone, us as bettors. So really, really positive stuff coming out of that. And like anything, we always got to try to help make the folks some money.
It's always better for everyone whenever we have Gino Buccola as our seminar guest. We're going to find out who Gino likes on today's excellent 11-race card. But before we do any of that, let's toss the microphone over to track announcer Frank Miramati and get the early changes on today's Saturday's card here at the Great Race Place.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Santa Anita Park. Post time for the first is in 1 hour. The track condition is yet to be announced. We will have that for you. You'll see it on the graphic as soon as the decision is made as to what the track condition currently is. The turf course will be rated as good. Here are the early changes. In the first, scratch number 5, Unrivaled Hero. Note that number 7, Cuban Confusion, the jockey Armando Ayuso, and 8, Day and Age will carry 2 pounds over. Race 2, number 5, Smooth Cruisin', carries 1 pound over. In the third, scratch 6, Fireman Dan. Scratch number 9, Navy Man. In the fourth, should be listed as Bill Wolf's birthday, Miramati has been scratched. A little under the weather. Scratch number 2, Miramati. Number 3, Eagles Flight, will now be ridden by Juan Hernandez. There's no show wagering in the fourth. Race 5 starts the middle, pick 4, 6.5 furlongs. It remains on turf, but it will no longer be run down the hill. It'll be run out of the chute. Number 4, Dandy Man Shines, will be ridden by Hector Berrios. Race 6 starts the pick 6, scratch number 9, Jafar's Girl. In the 7th, there will be a rider to be announced for number 6, Tirupati. Scratch number 12, Baltic Fire. Scratch 13, Lunar Impact. All turf pick 3 and late pick 5 both start with the 7th. In the 8th, scratch 5, Respect the Crown. In the 9th, scratch 4, Table for 2. Scratch number 7, Jimmy Blue Jeans. There will be a rider to be announced for number 9, Rodrigo Knows. The 10th starts the late double. Then the 11th, scratch 10, Have Patience. Note that 12, Clubhouse Cutie, is 2 pounds over. Scratch 13, Sexy Blue. Scratch 14, Dershin. 10, 13, and 14 out of the finale, which does offer super high 5 wagering. Those are the changes on today's card. Keep in mind, we have the Coast to Coast Pick 5. It starts today with Gulfstream's 9th in a little more than 2 hours. Let's go back to Quigley's Corner. His special guest today is Gino Buccola. You can find him on Twitter at It's Me, Gino B.
Welcome back. We're talking horses with handicapper Gino Buccola. It's our pleasure to have him as our seminar guest today. We've got a lot of ground to cover here, Gino, so let's kick things off in race number 1. As you heard Frank mention, we are on the turf course today. The turf course is listed as good. The rails are at 0 feet. Race 1 begins the popular 50-cent early pick 5. This race is for maiden special weights traveling 1 mile on the turf course. 2 scratches, scratch the 5 and the 8. They both have been declared out of the race. Take note of 2 first-time geldings. Number 3, Tap It Dynasty, and number 6, Catch the Breeze are both first-time geldings. A jockey change on number 7, Cuban Confusion, who is the current 3-5 betting choice. Amando Ayuso will now be in the saddle. Umberto Rispoli had an eventful evening and morning last night and this morning. He flew to Kentucky after riding the races here at San Diego Park last night on the red eye. He got to town in Louisville. Unfortunately, the work got pushed back one day to Sunday. He tried to make it back to San Diego to ride today's races. He got stuck with his connecting flight into Atlanta. So you know what he said? I give up. I'm just going to go back to Louisville and work the horse tomorrow morning. I mean, these jockeys, besides putting their lives on the line every day, Gino, I mean, the work that they put in, whether they're traveling around the country like Flavio and Umberto, or even in the morning when they're working horses, it's very, very admirable.
And Juan Hernandez is going to be the beneficiary of some of those today, but he's actually going to be traveling next week as well. He's going to be bouncing around
at Churchill Downs.
At Churchill on those big days too. So when you're really, it's one of those things. I guess it's a good problem when you're on the Derby favorite, right?
Sure.
When you're so good and you're so in demand, they want you all over the place.
Exactly. He wanted to be 2 places at one time. Usually he can do that, but unfortunately today Umberto's not going to be able to do that. All right, in race number 1, Gino, thumbs up or thumbs down on the 3-5 favorite, number 7, Cuban Confusion?
I think he's the horse to beat. I put him in the second spot, though. I thought there was an interesting horse or two that we could maybe get some value with. I'm going to look at the 3, Tap It Dynasty. This horse is a first-time gelding, is also going to get Lasix for the first time. Look at his 2 races on the grass. They're very, very good. The October race, when going 6 furlongs, this horse showed some serious late energy. And then last time out, in a very live race, that December race, had a fine start, was 4th, was in the 2-path, was in between horses, made a 3-wide bid, was only able to finish 4th that day. But if you look at the horses who were in that race, the winner, Charlie's to Blame, came back, is a really nice horse, won a stakes race next time out. The 3rd place finisher came out of that race to win an off-the-turf maiden special weight by 12+ lengths with an 83 Beyer speed figure. The 9th place finisher in that race was a horse that we just mentioned, Baeza, the Santa Anita Derby runner-up. I know it was on a different surface, but it just shows you the quality that was in that field. You also have a trainer who, if you just kind of quickly look at the stats, they don't look great coming off the bench, but when you expand them a little bit to the last 5 years, about 13%, super capable. So exits a strong race. The horse is a little bit sneaky on the grass. There's checks a lot of boxes for me of things that I'm looking for a price horse.
And speaking of a price horse, Gino, 30-1 currently on the tote board. That's our type of price. Certainly you make a compelling case. You mentioned that the winner came back to win a stakes race. It's actually a $165,000 stakes race at Gulfstream Park on February 1st. So as you mentioned, that race is very live. We can also see you like number 7, who is the current choice, Cuban Confusion, as your second choice. Let's turn the page, take a look at race number 2. Begins the popular 50-cent early pick 4. We're sprinting 6 furlongs in the main track. Allowance optional claiming types, non-winners of 1 other than a field of 5. Number 3, Positivity, who's in sharp form right now, is the 9-5 morning line favorite. Speaking of good races, I don't know if you like this horse, Gino, but the only 3-year-old in the field, number 5, Smooth Cruisin'. Take a look at his debut way back in October of 2024 and who the 3rd place finisher was. None other than the Kentucky Derby current favorite, or post-time favorite, I should say, morning line favorite, Journalism. You like that 3-year-old, or are you looking elsewhere?
I'm looking elsewhere, but I think he does have some ability. I would like him, I think, a little bit more, maybe going longer. I think in this spot, I'm worried with the way the race kind of shapes up. I don't know if there's that much early speed in here. Because just looking through the field, a lot of these horses aren't fast early. I think kind of by default, the 1 Nomad is going to be able to use that inside position and hold position there. So Nomad comes out of the very same race with Positivity. They ran 1-2. Positivity beat Nomad by 3+ lengths that day. Nomad was inside, was 5th, was about 2 or 3 lengths off early, was just behind the leaders, and was getting what looked like a perfect trip with 5th. There was a wall of 4 horses lining up, but he stayed to the inside, and he just couldn't really get through. He was completely blocked down on the inside, while Positivity made that big sweeping move to the outside, tail of 2 trips. Once he got a little room, he was able to shoot through. I think from the inside, holding that position and maybe getting a little aggressive today, I think Nomad might be able to turn the tables on Positivity.
And it's interesting, Gino, you and I both use DRF Formulator. It's an unbelievable tool if you're a serious handicapper. And if you were to look at the dam for Nomad, she cost $600,000 at auction. And you can see they bred her to Nyquist. Certainly there were big expectations. And this this horse, Momad, hasn't done all that poorly. 4 lifetime starts, finished in the money 3 of those 4 times. Certainly has a good late kick, so we'll see how race number 2 kind of develops. But number 1, Momad, Gino's top choice in race number 2. Race number 3 is a race, $20,000 claimers, non-winners of 3 races lifetime, sprinting 6 furlongs on the main track. Scratch the 6 and the 9. The 9 was the original morning line favorite, likely post-time favorite now is number 9, Golden Sunrise, layoff runner for Andy Mathis, 9-2 originally, likely to go lower. 9 different ways you can go here, Gino. Which way you going and why?
I thought the 10 Havoc was kind of interesting. If you look at what this horse did early on in his career before the trainer change, you see some races that were competitive, but kind of lower speed figures. Then a long layoff. The horse was off for more than a year, shows back up, changes barns, and has not won. So it actually hasn't hit the board in the 4 starts for Papadromo. They are sneaky good efforts, though. I think if you can kind of like dissect each of those races and you can find some really positive things on Havoc, he puts himself in a really good spot. And I think now back to the dirt again in a race where it's a bigger field. I think there's more speed. It could set up pretty well for him, sitting like 3rd or 4th, have a little bit more punch, cutting back from 6.5 furlongs. I mean, you go through each of those last races, some sneaky trouble in all of them, races that didn't shape up that well, and they're a lot better races too. Like, this is some serious class relief against this particular group. I like the 10 a little bit. I think, probably with the scratches, I'm going to lean towards the 8 Golden Sunrise as a speed horse who should be forwardly placed. I think should be able to kind of have a say in this race too. So Havoc, anything in that like 7-2 above range, I think is probably fair value in what's a wide open race with a couple scratches now, and hopefully sitting 3rd or 4th in a good spot.
Gino, I took a long look at Havoc as well, and here's another statistic you did not mention, which I looked up again, courtesy of our friends at DRF Formulator. When the Papadromo barn brings a horse back in with less than 7 days rest, and by the way, Havoc's coming back with 6 days rest, he's done that 9 times the last 5 years. So he doesn't do it a whole lot of times, but he's actually won with 3 of them. 33% when the Papadromo barn returns a horse back in less than 7 days. Another compelling reason why you should take a long look at Havoc, who has morning line odds originally of 6-1.
They know when they have a horse that has raced and it didn't take a lot out of them.
Correct.
They don't do it often, but when it feels like kind of like a work, right?
They don't do it very often, but when they do it, they mean business in this particular case.
Yep, and you could see it watching the race, like the horse was in a good spot, wasn't really persevered with late. I think just being in that same spot will have more finish.
Race number 4, we're traveling 1 mile and 1/16 on the main track. This race is named in honor of Bill Wolf's 66th birthday. Happy birthday, Billy. Been a long-time supporter here at Sandy. And race 4, like I said, we're going 1 mile and 1/16 on the main track. Allowance optional claiming types. Non-winners of 2 other than Scratch Miramati leaves us with a field of 4. Take note, the jockey in number 3, Eagles Flight, will now be Juan Hernandez. Eagles Flight certainly likely to be lower than the original 6-5 morning line favorite with that defection. Before we get your thoughts on the race, Gino, since Eagles Flight is a half brother to Flightline, I wanted to show a workout here on April 5th. Eagles Flight in this particular workout is on the outside. You can see the time is certainly legit, but I just like the way he's traveling. Last time out, he earned a Beyer speed figure of 100. That was his career best. It looks like he's going in an ascending type of pattern. And of course, the expectations are high. This is just an allowance race today, but I expect later this spring or maybe even in the summer, he'll be entered in some stakes races. And I just think, the son of Curlin was bred to be a good one. He finally figured it out last time with a very good number, as I mentioned. He got bet heavily that day. The one thing I would say, just looking at this as a novice workout analyst, is that he hits really hard. When they come in the lane here, you'll see his legs. That's just his running style. He hits really hard, and I think that's why they have a hard time getting into the races. Yep. You can see he didn't debut till May of last year. He's now had 3 races. We're now in March of 2025. He's got talent, but it's just that running style that I think prevents him from putting together a lot of good consecutive races.
Yeah, there's really no knocks on what he's done as a horse.
Zero.
Overall, right? He's a fantastic horse, so he's going to be a really, really short price in here.
Is he a free bingo square for the early pick 5?
I think so. And what I'm disappointed in, I had stories ready for my to tell about my good friend Frank Miramati.
Don't we all have stories about Miramati?
I love having some pizza with him. We had a good time down at Del Mar with Shiva. Shout out to Shiva. We went and had some nice pizza. I will say one thing before we move on. He is one of those friends that I don't get to see as much as I'd like, but when I do, it's like we were just hanging out yesterday.
The energy you two must bring to the table must be off the charts because you've got high energy. Frank can match that energy. Not many people can match your energy.
I know when I'm hanging out with Frank that I have to be on my A game because he is as sharp and as quick-witted as anyone out there. So if you're not ready to go, he is going to leave you in the dust. So I will say, my good friend, you bring out the best in me. Hope you have a good day today.
And he brings out the best with Sanita as well. He's obviously one of the world's best announcers, and it's our privilege just to have him calling the races here every day because he does such a great and outstanding job.
That's why he's at Santa Anita and at Saratoga.
Correct.
Two
The
of the
best of both worlds.
the most prestigious tracks in all of the world. We love hearing his voice.
Eagles Flight Single, as you mentioned. Let's just move on and take a look at race number 5, Gino. In today's 11 race card, we offer a 50-cent middle pick 4. And as you heard Frank mention, race 5 remains on the turf course, but we're not coming down the hillside turf course. We're coming out of the chute. It's on the flat 6.5 furlong turf course. This race, again, is an allowance optional claiming race for non-winners of 2, other than Make the Jockey on number 4, Dandy Man Shines, Hector Barrios. Morning line favorite number 3, Mucho del Oro, taking the blinkers off for trainer Doug O'Neill. Give us your thoughts on race 5, Gino.
I think the 6, We're in Trouble, is in a really good spot. This is a horse who overall hasn't done very much wrong in his career. You see, he was a debut winner. He comes back in his second start. He wins going down the hill. Then in his third start, they try him in the Oceanside. It's a little too long. The race actually looks really strong now with Formidable Man winning that renewal of the Oceanside back in 2024. And then in his first start off of a long layoff, he was a really good second, most recently on the flat 6 furlong turf course. I think everything sets up really well for him.
And let's watch that replay of his comeback race that you mentioned, Gino. It was back on March 15th. It was 6 furlongs in the flat turf course. He's going to get an extra half furlong to work with today. We're going to watch the replay. And one thing I want you to take notice of as we're watching the replay for We're in Trouble, who's going to break from post position number 5, is how did this horse possibly finish second?
Yeah.
Basically, at the 8th pole, you think he's going to finish 4th or 5th. He finds his late gear really late and kicks it in very, very nicely, leading both Gino and I to believe that he might adore the 6.5 furlongs. But you be the judge. Let's listen and watch We're in Trouble perform on March 15th, breaking from post position number 5, with Frank Miramati describing the action.
We're in the gate. And they're off. Go Joe 1. Vlahos has plenty of early gas, and so does Boss Sully. So it's Vlahos and Boss Sully taking over early on. Go Joe 1 third, and We're in Trouble is settling mid-pack 4th. Passed at the rail by Man Among Men. The 2 trailers, Tigeron and Navy Jack. Vlahos is the quickest of the quick past a half-mile pole. Leads at a length and a half, pursued intently by Boss Sully second. 3 clear of Go Joe 1. Man Among Men is down on the rail. They are followed by Navy Jack racing inside We're in Trouble, and Tigeron inches up outside of that pair. Vlahos and Boss Sully aggressively goes right to the front, and he did it easily. Opening up on Vlahos at the top of the stretch. Man Among Men is in third. On the far outside comes Tigeron. Go Joe 1 in between horses. It's Boss Sully in the final furlong, looking sharp. Has a 3-length lead close to home, and Boss Sully and Armando Ayuso will win with style.
Gino, as we continue to watch the gallop out, here comes our good old buddy. We're in Trouble, galloping out past the winner. Where he got that late kick, I have no idea. But if he's able to maybe move just a little bit sooner at morning line odds of 3-1, he's the one to beat in race 5.
Absolutely. He just was in a tricky spot. He was blocked. We saw that when he finally got some room late to stretch his legs, he did so, and he won that with 3-way photo there to finish second. So I think everything for the comeback race was very good. A little more distance, second start back off the bench, and the way the race shapes up, I think he could get a pretty good trip in here. It looks like Dandy Man Shines is the deep closer, and a lot of the other horses in here want to be forwardly placed or pretty close. He might be able to sit right behind them, get the jump on the deep closer, fall into a perfect trip.
Race number 6 begins the $2 pick 6. We're traveling 1 mile on the main track for maiden claiming fillies and mares in for a $20,000 tag. 1 scratch the 9. Still leaves us with a field of 9. Number 1, Aggro from the Jeff Mullins barn, ridden by Tyler Bays, is the 8-5 morning line favorite. What say you about race 6, Gino?
Yeah, when we talk about some of those DRF formulator stats, we usually send in some stats for the 6th race to the broadcast. And this in this particular one, there was a good one for the 7 Petite Ange blinkers coming off today for Ryan Hansen. Another one where it's not a huge sample size, but when they've taken the blinkers off and stretched horses out from a sprint to a route. So just kind of think about it. It makes sense, right? You're going to try to get a horse to relax a little bit more if you want them to go longer. They won with 2 of their last 3 horses in the last year, and all 3 of them hit the board. So when they do that, when they think they have a horse who might need to relax, can stretch out a little bit, I think that's going to be a good fit for Petite Ange. And this isn't generally the type of horse I play, Tom, an 0 for 13 type, but I want to see them doing something different, right? And what I like is sort of drop to the maiden 20 level. That was a good effort. Showed, I think, the horse fits with this group. Now you go 3rd, start off the bench, and we'll be stretching out in here. There really isn't very much early speed on paper in this race. I thought the 9 even kind of had a little bit of a long shot chance before getting scratched out of here. I feel like the 1, they'll try to get aggressive and hold that position. So hopefully the 7, they can get to show some speed, but relax a little bit on the front end with those blinkers coming off.
Race number 7 is our feature race on today's card. Is the Grade 3 Royal Heroine Stakes, 1 mile on the turf course for fillies and mares. Race 7 also begins the popular 50-cent late pick 5, as well as the $3 all turf pick 3 with a reduced 15% takeout. Phil D'Amato runs 4 in here. The outside 2 will not compete. However, number 12 Baltic Fire, number 13 Lunar Impact will not participate. Also, number 6 Turapati, the rider to be announced, and the morning line favorite is Turapati, fresh off the victory in the Grade 3 Wilshire Mile. Before we get your thoughts on the race, Gino, we want to show a replay for number 2 Raw Ability. This was the 7th race at Santa Anita back on March 17th. That was one of the Monday makeup days. Juan Leyva, the assistant trainer for John Sadler, was my seminar guest that particular day, and he touted the ability that Raw Ability actually has. She certainly delivered on this particular afternoon, pressing a slow pace and kicking home very impressively. So let's listen to Frank Miramati describe the action back on March 17th and watch Raw Ability, who is breaking from post position number 5.
And they're off. Sariha is going out for the early lead. Kitty Katana comes away in second. Raw Ability is eager third. Sakura Blossom, Do It Divvy, throwing her tail around pretty fiercely, is 4 lengths off the pace. And after a stumble at the start, Son of Hill is 5 lengths behind. Around the first turn, and it's Kitty Katana leading the way by a length and a half. Raw Ability is in second, Saria third, Sakura Blossom 3 off them in fourth. Son of Hill moves up on the outside of Do It Divvy. 6 lengths front to back. They straighten up for the run down the back stretch, and it's Kitty Katana leading the way by a length. Raw Ability, Aronis Racing 1-2 to the half-mile pole. Sariha is in third. Sakura Blossom just outside of her, 3 off the leader. 2 more to Son of Hill, and Do It Divvy trails. Around the far turn, Kitty Katana, Raw Ability goes to put the pressure on now. And Raw Ability within a head of Kitty Katana. Sariha has hugged the rail throughout, saving every inch of ground. Outside of her, Sakura Blossom, then Son of Hill and Do It Divvy. They turn for home. Kitty Katana hanging in there. On the outside, Raw Ability. Here's Sariha, though, swinging to the outside, and here she comes with a final 1/8 of a mile. Raw Ability and Saria, these are the 2. Raw Ability got the jump, still full of run. Saria's trying her best. It's Raw Ability or Saria. Raw Ability. Barrios, Horonis, and Sadler strike again.
We gave Frank Miramati, our track announcer, accolades earlier, and he perfectly described it as they approached the wire. Raw Ability, full of run, as you can see here on the gallop out. They could have gone around again, Gino, and not catch her. Now, having said that, this is one example that we talked about earlier. This is a deep competitive field. Although we might like Raw Ability, we certainly respect a lot of her competitors.
Yeah, Tirupati's in fantastic form. I mean, they've done a great job with her. She was able to be claimed for $25,000
reclaimed
last year after she broke her maiden in a maiden claimer for $35,000, and then in the next start you could have gotten her for $25,000 if you wanted. And since then, she's been a legit graded stakes caliber horse. She was a really tough luck second in the Buena Vista, came back and was a winner in the Wilshire using that speed. Bigger field today. I think that she might have just a tougher group to face overall here. And when you look at Raw Ability's 3 races and that overall body of work, the race in Ireland to start was very good, step slow. Then in the second start, that Del Mar race was visually, Tom, so impressive. You and I were just talking about it a moment ago. She was still like towards the back of the pack early in the stretch, and she tipped out and just inhaled the field. And when she finally got out of the gate well and was able to sit second, she was cruising all the way around and never looked like a loser. I always think it's funny too when there's a name like this. I wonder if you're an owner, you save it for the good horse, right?
Sure.
Raw Ability for a horse that has some raw ability. It's also the Saturday race of the day at DRF.com. You can get free past performances and some help with the video preview if you're looking at the 7.
If the original owner of Raw Ability knew that she had that much ability, he certainly got rich. He or she got rich because on debut in Ireland, Raw Ability beat a field of 14 at odds of 40-1. Race number 8 begins the 50-cent late pick 4. We're sprinting 6 furlongs on the main track. It's a starter optional claiming race for fillies and mares. We've got a field of 10 after the scratch of number 5. Respect the Crown, number 10. Champagne Cami taking a drop down in class for the aforementioned Rona Sadler team owner-trainer is the 2-1 morning line favorite. Give us your thoughts on race 8, Gino.
I think the horse to beat too. When you isolate those dirt races too, they're really good. And what I like about them is she's actually shown some versatility in the races too. Like if you look at her 3 dirt wins, she has one on the lead, one where she's sitting second, another where she had to come from mid-pack and a few lengths out of it. So I think she makes sense, and even being drawn to the outside always tends to help speed horses if they can sit a little bit and they're not forced as much. But if they do go too quick and maybe Champagne Cami gets caught up in the early lead and in a battle for the early pace, I thought the 4 Twilight Empire could actually sit a pretty nice trip in here. So those will be the 2 that I'm interested in. This horse was just a little bit flat, chasing a lone speed winner last time out, was actually a favorite in that race. Now we'll go 3rd start of the form cycle. So if you can bounce back to something like that February 8th race, I think Twilight Empire could be very competitive in here.
Race number 9 begins the $3 late pick 3, also with a reduced 15% take on, and we're traveling 1 mile of turf course for Calbred allowance optional claiming types, non-winners of 1 other than. 2 scratches here. Scratch the 4 and the 7 leaves us with a field of 7. Number 9, Rodrigo Knows, jockey to be announced. Morning line favorite is going to be more than likely number 1, Clouseau, although it's a little bit of a wide open race here, Gino, as we've been talking about all these multi-race races in the pick 5, pick 6, late pick 3, et cetera, et cetera. They're going to pay great today, in my opinion.
Yeah, pretty challenging. I think Rodrigo Knows should enjoy the cutback. 1 1/8 just seemed a little too far. This horse was inside, was 3rd, was a couple lengths off, moved down to the inside. It was a pretty good effort. So I think Rodrigo Knows makes sense. Brazenly is interesting. Don't forget about a decent long shot down on the inside. What was that? Was it Toro Escalante, Kanani?
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
Was that him in the
That was luck.
in the luck? So his races going long on the grass are very good. I think he could save ground and maybe outrun his odds down there too.
Race number 10 begins the $5 late daily double, also with a reduced 15% takeout. 1 mile on the main track, $16,000 claimers, non-winners of 2 races lifetime. Another good field of 10. One of 3 3-year-olds in the field number 2, Valentine's Candy, is the lukewarm 7-2 morning line favorite. Talk to us about race 10, Gino.
You think the 6 White Mountain should sit a pretty nice trip for trainer Ryan Hansen. If you look at this horse's body of work overall, debuted against a little bit tougher, facing maiden special weights, then had a long layoff to deal with, was off from September of 2023 to March of 2025. We're talking a year and a half. So the comeback race was a race he absolutely needed. They put him on the grass against maiden 50 claimers. Then when they dropped down to the lower level, the maiden $20,000 level, horse set a really nice trip. And I just love to see them sitting in the same spot, going a mile on the dirt, 3rd start of the form cycle now. I think White Mountain, it's a really nice trip in here. I'll also be including the 10 Asmodeus, comes in. Just didn't really like the synthetic over at Turfway. I think you can just put a line right through those races. Now kind of a starting over point. Wild Card, who's faced a lot better. We know Peter Miller can do some really good work with new acquisitions just like this. So 6 and 10 for me in race 10.
Using the term wild card, take a look at race number 11, our last race on today's card, which offers $1 super high 5 wagering. We're sprinting 6 furlongs on the turf course. It's a maiden special weight race for Calbred. 3-year-old fillies is basically the entire bulk of the field. Number 10, Have Patience, the original morning line favorite, has been scratched, as have 13 and 14. 10, 13, and 14 will not compete. Favoritism likely to fall on number 3, Big City Miss. This is a real interesting race, Gino. You like the same runner I do. There's different reasons both to like her and not to like her. I'll let you go first. Why do you like number 7, French Moonlight, at 12-1 to win race 11?
Okay, so we'll go positive. So the Dam won the debut going long on the turf in France. Half sister to a horse named Full Count Felicia, who's a Grade 1 winner.
Let me stop you. She broke her maiden at 1 mile and 3/16, beating a field of 12.
How about that, right?
Incredible.
So some stamina, but precocity.
Correct.
That's the key
She
for
won her
me,
debut.
right? Winning early on when I see, that's what I like to see when I'm looking for horses and their direct siblings and their Dam. What have they done similarly? Full Count Felicia, Grade 1 winner. Another one, Random Honest, who's 2 for 3. So just looking at the pedigree checks the boxes for me. Then,
Full Count Felicia won the 2024 Grade 1 EP Taylor Woodbine.
had the lead in the Breeders' Cup this year.
Not an easy race to win.
No, it's a legitimate pedigree here. Then I'm looking at the works, which we can watch on First.tv now, which has been transferred over where you used to be able to watch them online on XBTV. I thought this horse showed some ability
Me too.
in the workouts there. So now I'm looking at pedigree, checks that box. What does this horse particularly look like in the mornings? Checks that box. Then the next thing we'll want to go to is like trainer statistics with those types of horses.
That's the bad news.
Right? So Leonard Powell isn't one that is like, has monster numbers with first-time starters.
Do you want to say what they are specifically?
Not great, right? Go for it.
1 for 56 the last 5 years for first-time starters from the Leonard Powell barn.
And what I will say in knowing Southern California connections and playing them, I've never really felt that he was the type of barn who couldn't get a horse ready off the layoff or couldn't get a horse ready to fire in the morning. And I don't think a lot of the times the horses that he gets are grass horses and longer distance grass horses, right? So if you think about them, they're probably horses that need to get built up a little bit with a couple starts before. So yeah, and just knowing that barn particularly, I'm not really tuned off all that much.
And 12 to 1 on the morning line.
It's built into the price. I was just going to say, if this horse is double-digit odds, it's reflected in the price as it is. So you know what? I think if you're playing pick 4s and pick 5s, this is one of those fun horses to throw in the last leg. You always like to be able to look at the will pays and have a big one like that, and this will be one of them.
And it's a Calbred. Liam's Map is the sire. Liam's Map does not stand in California, stands in Kentucky. So that's another positive.
Yep.
They shipped the mare to Kentucky, brought her back to California, had this foal. So there's a lot of good, compelling reasons to like her, with the exception of the trainer's staff.
Yeah, also throw in the 11, Miss Mrazek. That was a good effort on the grass. And this horse has 6 siblings, all one on the turf. So another horse who has a lot of turf in the pedigree. We already saw this horse like the grass first time out. So I expect this one to take a nice step forward. 7-11 to close things out for me. And one thing I wanted to mention before we get out of here, if that's okay with you.
Of course.
Because everybody's firing away on this card today. There's a nice tournament today. This
$500 tournament that you can either play on track or at expressbet.com. $300 live bankroll, $200 goes to the prize fee. Santa Anita keeps nothing. Win, play, show, exacta, daily doubles, bet whatever you want.
Full card,
It's a beautiful thing.
Full card, and you can qualify, get an NHC spot.
Correct.
In today for just $500 if you haven't qualified yet. And in a couple weeks, they're going to have a fun Preakness tournament, a big one that there's a lot of qualifiers and feeders leading into that. So if you're watching these races and you're playing today, $500 I think is an affordable entry. Sometimes when you get into 1,000 or 1,500, that's a little bit too big for some people's bankrolls. But I might be firing away in this one today. And anyone that needs any extra help, the YouTube channels are great from Santa Anita. I know I'm a part of the Friday night preview show. We always take a look at the Saturday card, and then a daily racing forum. We do a lot of race previews, pick 5 strategies, contender stuff. So a couple different tools that can maybe help you if you're someone who likes to play the races or likes to throw on a video in the background when you're doing your handicapping.
Gino, you're never intimidated by a challenging card, and you came through with flying colors today. Thanks so much for your time and input. We'll do it again real soon.
Anytime. Good luck today, everyone.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great afternoon. Keep in mind, one more wager to consider. Quickly, $1 coast-to-coast pick 5. You know the story. $1 minimum, low 15% takeout. You can see 3 of the 5 races originate from Santa Anita. First leg begins 2:09 Pacific time. Have a great afternoon, everybody, and good luck.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our national anthem. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Santa Anita. The track is listed as sloppy. The turf is good. The track conditions are brought to you by John Deere. Rail on the turf is at 0 feet. Once again, we're sloppy. Race 1, scratch number 5, Unrivaled Hero. Note that 7, Cuban Confusion, the jockey Armando Ayuso, 8 Day and Age, will carry 2 pounds over. Race 2, number 5, Smooth Cruisin', 1 pound over. In the third, scratch number 6, Fireman Dan, and scratch number 9, Navy Man. In the fourth, scratch number 2, Miramati. Note that 3, Eagles Flight, the jockey Juan Hernandez. Race 5 stays on the turf for now. 6.5 furlongs out of the chute instead of the hill. 4, Dandy Man Shines, now ridden by Hector Barrios. 6 starts to pick 6, scratched 9, Jafar's Girl. The 7th is the Royal Heroine, late pick 5, all turf pick 3 start. Still waiting for a rider for number 6, Tirupati. Scratch 12, Baltic Fire. Scratch 13, Lunar Impact. In the 8th, scratch number 5, Respect the Crown. Race 9, scratch 4, Table for 2. Scratch 7, Jimmy Blue Jeans. Note that 9, Rodrigo Knows, the jockey Mike Smith. 10th race starts the late double. Just a blinker note, the 11th has super high 5 wagering. Scratch 10, Have Patience, as well as the 13, Sexy Blue, and 14, Dershin. Sloppy main track. We have a very light rain going on here in Arcadia. We have the coast-to-coast pick 5 that starts with Gulfstream's 9th. Enjoy your day.